FOS TV is brought to you by the Lion's Den. The Den always has been and always will be about enjoying family and friends in an environment steeped in Happy Valley tradition. So come back to the Den, the perfect place to recall old memories while creating new ones.
Mark Brennan of FOS TV here, at the Joe Paterno wrap-up here with Graham Zug, a special guest this week. Graham, Joe said today, open quarterback competition. What are your thoughts?
It's good to always have an open quarterback competition. Makes guys work harder, and they're both capable of working and helping this team succeed. So it should be interesting this week.
We talked to you after the game a little bit. You're a former walk-on. How cool is it for you to see a guy like Matt McGloin play as well as he did and continue to be in the mix? He is a former walk-on as well. You guys probably kindred spirits.
I love reading stories about walk-ons and coming in and being successful, at any program. I think it's a great accomplishment, and it really shows how hard a guy works to come in and have everything going against him and then be able to prove himself to a program and eventually start to play.
Now, it could be a real big weekend for Joe Paterno, 400 wins. What does that mean to the team to try to do it, and not only do it, but get it here at Beaver Stadium?
To us as a team, we'd love to get it here at home. He's coached so many years and it's done an outstanding job. It'd be, everything. As if we were coaches, it'd be everything we'd want. We'd want to win at home in front of the fans that have supported you all along, and I think he deserves that.
I appreciate it, Graham. Best of luck.
Thank you.
And best of luck against Northwestern this weekend and for the rest of the season. We're acting like professional wrestling interviews here, so we're going to bring Pat Boland in. Thanks a lot, Graham.
Thank you.
See ya. Pat Boland joining us now of ESPN Radio 1450 in State College. You got to slide over just a hair here, my man.
Okay.
So the big news, Joe Paterno, as we were just talking to Graham Zug, opening up the quarterback position, or at the very least, he says he's opening up the quarterback position. What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think he's playing some gamesmanship here with Northwestern, not letting them know who's going to be under center. I thought maybe Fitzgerald would do that with Northwestern's quarterback situation, but he hasn't. He said Pursa's going to be the #1 guy. And I think competition's always good. It brings out the best in an individual. And I'm sure that the coach is hoping that's what the case will be this week. We might find out on Thursday night who the starter is. Maybe we'll find out Saturday afternoon. But I think the competition is good. And you look back, they've probably had their most productive offensive quarters while Matt McGloin has been under center.
Yeah, I would say that outside of the first quarter of the Minnesota game, the first quarter and a half when Boland went 11 for 13 for however many yards. The one weird thing last week is there was obviously, I don't want to say it was a disconnect, but I think they were obviously playing games because on the Thursday night call-in show, Jay Paterno said that it was going to be a game-time decision, and then a few minutes later, Joe, who had taped his segment, comes on and says that McGloin was going to be the guy, and you just have to wonder how many games are playing. But one other thing that caught my ear today, Joe Paterno said he may have to kind of take a couple steps back from his thinking that he's a one quarterback guy. You have two young guys, want to give him a shot. A lot of people think that's a good thing. I really think you pick one guy, you stick with him. That's my thought. How do you address those?
I agree with you. There's that long time saying, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. I think you got to stick with one guy, the guy the team responds the best to, the guy that's the most productive. Make him your starting quarterback. And I think that's the approach I would take. But Coach Paterno, he's weighing all sorts of concerns because Boland, you want to keep him involved, you want to keep McGloin involved. Kevin Newsom, apparently his name I don't think was even mentioned today. I think he's out of the mix right now. Yeah,
one of the other weird things is that after the game on Saturday, Jay Paterno said if Boland's healthy, that he will be the starting guy. And obviously, again, is this gamesmanship? There's been some sort of change of thought after the game, the post game on Saturday. So we're going to have to see how that all plays out. My guess, if it is an open competition now, I would think that would mean they're leaning toward McGloin, but we're going to have to see. It's going to make the game interesting. Also, as I mentioned, Graham Zug, big weekend for Penn State. Your last home game here until the regular season finale against Michigan State. After this game, you're at Ohio State. That's going to be a tough game. And then you play a really not that good Indiana team down in the Washington, D.C. area. I think it's key for Penn State to win game number 400 for Joe Paterno. Get it out of the way here. Let the home fans celebrate. The one person who's not wrapped up in the 400 wins is
Joe Paterno. He downplayed it. He really didn't want to get into it. He knows that, he starts talking about 400. That's presumptuous, that they're going to beat Northwestern this weekend. He wants to stay away from that talk. And he kind of reflected on some of his longevity here and how it's been a lot of games, but he just didn't really want to touch the subject.
And that wasn't really surprising at all. I thought Neil Rudell actually had a really good question of the Altoona Mirror. He broke out a newspaper story from the Associated Press from 1991 where Joe was saying, his last year may be coming soon. And here we are 20 years later, Joe Paterno still going at it. This is going to be a milestone that, obviously nobody's in major college has reached it yet, and it's hard to believe that anybody's ever going to come close to this type of thing, just given how difficult it is to have that kind of longevity at the college level anymore.
And Joe kind of hinted what gets him going, keeps him going. He talked about his favorite part of game day is the competitiveness. Matching wits with the guys on the other sidelines, trying to put the right person in the right place at the right time, making the right play call, trying to do better than the other team, the other coach. And I think he's maybe one of the most competitive people on the face of the earth. And that's why he has persevered through all of these years, and that's why he's won 399 games.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, let's get down to some of the housekeeping, some of the nuts and bolts. On the injury front, Joe Paterno said that Jack Crawford, they're hoping to get him back in practice today. Defensive end, they want to get him back, and they're hoping that he's able to play, but he was not sure. He also indicated that Lattimore, who's listed, I think, is out on the injury list. They're hoping to get him back in practice today, too. So if they're able to get one or both of those guys, I think that's real big against a Northwestern team that's given up 27 sacks. I mean, in this game, I think it's key for Penn State to be able to generate a lot of pressure on Percy. It seems like Percy is going to be the guy for them, but being able to get that defensive line back to full strength for the home stretch is key.
And also, Coach Paterno gave a ringing endorsement of what Pat Fitzgerald has done at Northwestern. And I got to wonder, will those words be recirculated in a few more years?
Yeah, it's interesting. Just about every young upcoming coach who comes in here, there's talk of, could that guy be working on the opposite side? We had it with Al Golden, and you look at what Pat Fitzgerald's done. I had the opportunity to watch the Northwestern Indiana game, and really that is not a team of great athletes, but he is doing a really nice job of coaching them up there in Evanston, and you wonder what he would be able to do at the helm of a program like this.
And I'm glad they're bringing Percy in to quarterback the team, that he's not going to be out this week, because with him at quarterback, Northwestern has a chance. Without him, they really don't.
You hope that he's going to come in. You don't know. We could be dealing with some gamesmanship on that side of it. They talked about Percy having a concussion in that Indiana game. I'm not sure what's changed or if he's passed whatever test or whatever, but I agree with you. I mean, you absolutely want to get the opposing team's best shots. What else jumped out at you from the press conference today? It wasn't really the most newsworthy press conference, other than the fact that he addressed the QBs and a little bit about the 400.
And he also followed up on the Notre Dame tragedy that took place last week, where the student videographer got blown off the tower and lost his life. And Coach Paterno said when its winds are more than 30 miles per hour here, they don't go up in the tower. And he talked about, well, you need to take a look at things, and a lot goes on in practice, and they're always trying to figure out safer ways to run practice and make sure all the managers and the support staff gets protected.
Yeah, and he made a real good point that I don't think a lot of people realize the number of support-type people who are out there. As a head coach, your primary focus is on the players and, to a lesser extent, the assistant coaches. But there are so many different aspects and so many people who are doing so many different jobs. To be able to keep tabs on all of them has got to be tricky. But it's good to know that Penn State does have rules in effect for when they'll practice outside, for when they'll put people up on the scaffoldings to shoot. And, knock on wood, you hope that this is the only tragedy we ever see of this, of this sort of thing. Definitely a terrible tragedy, and just too bad that it happened. Anything else that jumped out from you today? I mean, as I didn't have time to take a lot of great notes. Again, the Boland McGloin thing to me is the biggest thing. 400. Joe not wanting to talk about it. The players did mention, as you heard with Graham Zug, that that'd be real special type thing for them. But other than that, I think we're pretty much ready. Let's see how the week of practice plays out, who the starting quarterback is, and see Penn State go after 400.
And stay tuned on Thursday night. We might have the big quarterback announcement there on the Penn State Football Show, heard locally on 1450 AM.
Well, that show's definitely become worth listening to with any sort of quarterback controversy. You don't know if you're going to get accurate answers, but you usually do get some answers. Anyway, hey, for Pat Boland of 1450 ESPN Radio here in State College, I'm Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.